And so we get to our conversation, our first conversation rather, where we are joined by Winnie Maru, who is the CEO Tembea Africa Tours, who's going to speak to us. We're going to be having a conversation about women-led MSMEs. Thank you so much for joining us on Business today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, so when we look at women-led MSMEs, first of all, the challenge of even accessing capital is usually one of the main and major challenges. When it comes to this, from where you sit, how does it pan out? How does a lady who owns an enterprise stay afloat?
You're very right. It's actually very difficult for women to access finance. And I'll take it from how property was owned long before. So you realize that a lot of the property that that has been in the market is generally owned by men. And we were living in what we call really a patriarchal, society, which we still are even today. So a lot of the women had very little, or if any, access to capital, because you needed to show where it is you got, whether it is land, whether it is a house, whatever it is, even cars. It's just in the recent past that now we're seeing many women are owning vehicles because now they can get jobs. So access to finance has been and continues to be very, very difficult for women. So you go to the bank and then, you have to show that you have security. And a lot of the times you really don't have security because that house is owned by, either your father, your husband, you don't have land, because even until very recently, where now fathers can actually give their daughters inheritance, before it wasn't there. So unless you're working in the corporate sector, then you have a salary and you can take it to the bank as your security. A lot of the women who are doing, especially MSMEs, do not have the kind of capital or the kind of security that a bank would want to give you access to capital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Now, to another issue, you've mentioned about ownership. Could it be that there's lack of experience when it comes to how you run a business? Because at the end of the day, when you look at how a business is run, could it be that someone just makes a decision and says, okay, I want to start this business, but the experience is not really there?
The experience, I think both women and men, by the time they want to start a business, have a little bit of experience in whatever field it is they want to start. Whether it is doing peanuts, jam, whatever it is, in whatever sector, in agriculture, in tourism, like myself, in health. I imagine if someone has been within the health sector and maybe wants to open their own pharmacy, they do have some experience. So what we're simply saying is that women are treated differently, whereas then you're having to think and ask very many questions. Do you have the experience? Will this succeed? And we have seen a lot of women who've started from nothing, managing to succeed, but it has been through many, many hurdles. So a lot of them, you need maybe your family to believe in you, because the corporates or the banks or whoever else within those institutions might not. But the one thing at least we know that has helped women is stable banking, because they've been able to come together, realize that we do have a problem within our society. So why don't, I call Jane and Catherine and Margaret, let's put our money together. And then every week or every month, I can access 10, 20, 30, up to 100, even $1 million. A lot of them are even putting close to $1 million on the table. So that has now helped them grow their business. And then now you then see that institutions, financial institutions, are realizing that this is a demography that they can work with. This is actually a demography that has the power, that has the money, that has access, that we were not taking advantage of before. We simply were ignoring them. Now they're actually inviting you to the table and saying, let's have the conversation. Yes.
All right. Now, to another different issue, you are a CEO of a travel company, Tembea Africa Tours. What really inspired you to start this? Because someone can ask, okay, so why did you choose, out of every other business that you could think of or enterprise, why did you choose this?
Well, first and foremost, I love travel. And I love travel. I mean, since I was a child, I was fortunate enough to be in a family that my parents traveled quite a bit and showed us the world quite a bit. So even as I left school, I had done, what you'd call generally the country, and also having traveled out a little bit. But I worked in a totally different sector. And after many years of being employed, I thought, why don't I do this? I had started it as a hobby. I was taking friends, groups of families, or just a lot of the contacts that I have across the world. I would take them on holiday or organize their tours and all that. And I decided, why not actually do this as a business? It could actually put food on the table. And then I quit employment and went into full-time business, so you'd say yes.
All right, so since when you started up to now, what are some of the lessons that you've gotten to learn? Because at the end of the day, someone would ask, okay, so what is that one thing that you can pick, or maybe 3 things that you can tell someone who wants to maybe start such a kind of business?
And I'll go back, in fact, to the issue of access to capital. So I was lucky to start the business while I was still employed. So same thing as I talked about. I had a salary, I had a pay slip. So, I went to the bank, asked for money, and then I bought my first tour van. And then I started, doing business with it, and that made money, and I went and asked for another loan, and I made money, and then I had a fleet of vehicles. And after that, that is when I decided to quit, because then I decided that the business was not doing as well when I was employed, and I decided to go full-time into it. So you can see, immediately I walked out, I had no access to capital like I did before. But the thing is, I had a base in which to start with and go forward. So in this, in the scenario today, where you have to prove that you have some money, of course, then becomes difficult. For me, I wasn't starting from scratch. I had a base that I had established, and then I moved on from there. So I'd tell somebody, if you can, at least save some money, because you really can't start from the blue. You really can't start. It's virtually, and I think the people who have tried, it's not impossible, but it's terribly difficult. So save some money, get access, join a group, even if, you can't go to the bank, join a group. Table banking has really helped a lot of women. And they have grown their businesses. I know people who have grown their businesses from nothing and made it really huge just from table banking, because then that gives you access to money. And then another important thing, join associations. Join associations, because through associations, you get to know what's happening within your sector. And as for myself and as a company, we are members of Kenya Private Sector Alliance, and we've been members for a while now, because that gives you access to networks. In as much as there's one thing about access to capital, you need access to networks. For you to get a business, you need contacts within the industry. So whatever sector you're in, join things like the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. Then you can meet people within your sector, whether it is agriculture, whether it is health. So whatever industry or sector that you work in, do not work alone. Try and join an association. And I tell that to women, I tell that to young people, do not work alone, because you will not go far. As we say, if you want to go far, walk alone. But if you want to go further, get others to join together. Yes, so join an association. Okay. It's very important. All
right, even as you speak about joining associations, getting to have networks, is there a forum that brings all these associations together in order for at least women to connect and know different women who are doing greater things, even outside the country or even in the neighboring countries or in other different sectors, in the tour industry, in technology? Do we have such forums?
Absolutely. Like myself, I'm a member of the Kenya Association of Women in Tourism. So it brings together women within the tourism sector, whether they're tour operators, whether they're hoteliers, whether they're in hospitality, within the entire tourism spectrum. The Kenya Association of Women in Tourism brings that together. But then above that, there are many other associations within that sector. There's a Kenya Association of Tour Operators, KATO. Then, then above that, there's what you call the Kenya Tourism Federation, which then brings all the other bodies, whether it is KATA, which has the airline travel agents, whether it is the tour operators, whether it is the hoteliers, KHAC, the Hoteliers and Caterers Association. All those then become members of KTF, which are the Kenya Tourism Federation. And at the federation, then those are the things that, that is the body then that would work with government in terms of policy and advocacy. And even these other associations also work with government, to advocate for different things within that sector, So there's always a level. So if it is in digital space, if you're in tech, there is an association. I know like bloggers have their own association, and I know right now the Ministry of ICT is also working with the Bloggers Association. So whether you're in the creative arts, whether you're in sports, whatever sector, even I know even within agriculture, the different plants, or I can say like foodstuffs. Avocados have their own association. You know, the passion fruit, I think the coffee, the tea, the pineapple, whatever it is, they have their own association, which then grows into the federation and then works with government and ministry to change policy or advocate on a number of issues that are affecting that industry.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we've come to the end, and as we conclude this conversation, what is that one thing that you can encourage women who have their own enterprises, who are in the MSME world, and how do they maintain to just stay above others, even in these hard economic times? Some people start their businesses, they usually close even before 1 year ends. So what would be your parting shot?
My parting shot is just stay strong, keep afloat. You've got to be resilient. It's hard, especially within this changing economic landscape, as you have mentioned, but share. You know, there's always somebody who's going through what you're going through. There's always somebody who's worked that journey. A lot of the businesses might not work on year 1, probably maybe not on year 2 or year 3. You just need to be patient. Patience really, I mean, it really calls for patience for you to be an entrepreneur. I think that's, you know, that cannot be gainsaid. Mm-hmm. So yes, stay resilient, stay focused, just work hard at it, and I think in time you'll get there.
All right. Thank you so much, Winnie. That is Winnie Maru, who is the CEO Tembea Africa Tours, speaking to us about women-led MSMEs. And we are going now to go for a short break. But when we come back, don't go too far. We're going to be joined by Daniel Kingori, who is the County Chief for Finance and Treasury. I know when we started the show, I had said in Nairobi, but no, it is in Laikipia County. We're going to be speaking to him. So don't go too far. We're just going to be discussing about all these issues. We're also going to be letting you know Winnie Maru has been speaking about empowering women-led MSMEs. They're also going to be having a forum coming in the next couple of months. We're going to also let you know about that. So before we go for a short break, just take a sip of water, stay with us. We're going to come back.